From the heart of oil country, the unique sights, sounds, and smells of Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship racing have made their way west to RAD Torque Raceway in Edmonton, Alberta. A fire burns deep inside three-time Canada Cup champion Ben Young as he looks to regain the top step of the podium after a winless round 2 in Grand Bend. Gloves on, throttle ready, let's ride in Bridgestone CSBK round 3. Marshall Ferguson alongside Colin Fraser here at RAD Torque Raceway in Edmonton, Alberta, as we are getting set for the second of 2 GP Bikes Pro Superbike feature class races. And in race number 1, it was Ben Young, our reigning 2-time champion, of course, taking the victory. But it was an entertaining battle, 2, 3, 4, with so many storylines.
Well, I think starting from the back, Jordan Zoke had another strong showing at a track where he's done well previously. It got interesting because our 2 newcomers, our 2 focuses of attention, one is the Ducati with Alex Duma, and the other is this older, not particularly well-built Kawasaki with Duma and Collins, and those 2 put on a show. They battled for quite some time. When Collins got clear in his first ever ride in the series, he went after Ben Young hard, and it was very entertaining.
What a great battle in race number 1 here at RAD Torque Raceway as Collins taking no prisoners, but Ben Young does finish on the top step as we get set for race number 2 with the full grid.
Here we look at qualifying from Friday. The pace was really impressive. We were expecting maybe a 16. We didn't get quite that far. Worth mentioning that Duma was briefly the fastest, but he had some issues in qualifying. They were actually based on them trying to get some more ground clearance out of that motorcycle, and that's pretty comical given how much ground clearance the Ducati comes with to start with.
A lot of Hondas on this grid as well. John Booley we see there, the ODH Snow City Honda of David McKay only made it to lap number 4 in race number 1. We'll see if he can go longer here at RAD Torque in race 2.
Right, McKay had some problems. That was unfortunate. He was running fairly well. This is his debut. A lot of other people making their debut. You look at the track there. On our left is the west end, the faster part of the section. Technical, slower, and probably more one line from the start line because the finish line is in a different spot.
Getting set to go here as they make their way toward the grid. We'll go down to our Bridgestone pit reporter, Sarah Said.
Thanks, guys. Race 1 featured a big debut for wildcard Canadian rider Duma and Collins at RAD Torque here in Edmonton. It was by the last lap Collins was able to catch up to defending champion Ben Young, but ultimately could not make the pass, landing him a second-place finish. Still, even though Collins says he didn't get a great start in the first race, he believes if he does manage it in race 2, he can avoid traffic early and gain the pace to potentially beat Young. And if he does pull off a victory today, it would make him one of the youngest Superbike winners in CSBK history. What a story that would be for a local rider's second ever CSBK race. Back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Would be an incredible story as we turn our attention to the Apex Cycle starting lights powered by Honda. And Ben Young, race 1 winner, digs in as the lights are off and we are full throttle once again in Alberta. Great start by Jordan Zoke on the outside, banging with Duma and Collins. Zoke beats him to the corner and it's Young leading through turn 1.
Listen to Sarah's clip. She talked about Collins not wanting to get caught in traffic, and boy, is he submerged in the pack there. I think he was 5th or 6th. Ben Young leading. This is getting to be standard operating procedure, and Ben has mostly controlled these races from the front.
It looked like Collins was already trying to make his way up through with Sam Garan right there, and now it's Zoke against Collins, and he takes back that spot as that will move the Novalda Kawasaki up into contention here onto the podium in 3rd behind Duma and Young.
On board with the crazy Cam Collins. You can see him have a big moment there chasing Duma, and he is the all-action man of the series since he joined the tour yesterday.
Amazing to see him diving in, and Jordan Zoke getting straightened up a little bit that time as they make their way through turn number 2. As it is Garan sitting in 5th. And then Zoke, Collins, Duma, and Young going through that bus stop as quickly as they can, and there's that wheelie we saw in race 1.
Got to mention McKay, a strong 6th in the Honda. He crashed yesterday. McDonald in 7th. He is doing well at his home track, returning to the scene of the crime, as it were. And there you look at Torrens looking inside Duma, really aggressive and really showcasing that unusual style of his.
Economy Lube and Tire Ducati of Alex Duma being hunted down by the number 71 here as the Vandalers home team BMW of Ben Young continues to lead, but we got a breakaway pack of 5 right now that are really, really tight on the back half of this lap.
This is very close to what we saw yesterday. The difference is that Collins is starting to move sooner. He made that move on Zoke, and we heard Sarah say that the plan is to get going sooner. Look at him right on top of Duma there. This is where he passed Duma yesterday, and look at how close they are. Young has suddenly lost a lot of that edge we thought he had early on in the first lap.
So Young again in first spot, trying to carry as much speed as he can through this section of the track, but the aggressive braking and turning here of Duma and Collins bunching everything up as they cross the start-finish line, and it is a 1:18.085 for Ben Young, but the fastest lap there on lap 1 officially, Duma and Collins sitting in third.
Yeah, Collins is putting on the pressure. Duma needs to get going. I don't know what's up with Young, but he is not showing the pace he had yesterday. There you can see him wheeling out of the bus stop. That is the technique he uses. He's kind of taught the other guys that that's the best approach if you can do it. And here you go, Collins is going to have another stab at second.
Looking down the inside once again, scrubs off enough speed to make the corner. It didn't look like it there for a second, Colin. As he looks over his shoulder, it is a breakaway. 5 riders here at RAD Torque. We'll continue with more after this. Portions of the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship are brought to you in part by Joe Rocket, BS Battery, and Gulf Race Fuels. Closed captioning for the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship is brought to you in part by AIM Insurance, MotorcycleCourse.com, EBC Brakes and Clutches, and Revs for Rhett. Working lap number 4 of 20 here, as nothing has changed in the running order and nothing has changed in the entertainment value of these top 5. They continue to battle their way around RAD Torque Raceway.
I think the guy earning his keep in terms of entertainment is Jordan Zoke, because he's got one heck of a show right in front of him. He's just far enough back that if something were to happen, he wouldn't be directly involved. And Garin is hanging in a little bit better in 5th than he did yesterday. But you can see Ben is not pulling away. And as I mentioned before, I'm concerned that this is an issue. Even through the bus stop, he is just not aggressive the way he was earlier in this race or yesterday.
On lap number 3, thousands separated the top 5 here. Every single one of these riders that you see in the top 5 ran a 1:17.8.
Hey, we're watching Collins here. It's like watching a video game. It's just amazing how he turns that motorcycle. He's so confident and aggressive, and it's the reason you watch a motorcycle race is to see people ride the bike that way. And it is an unusual style that we do not normally see, and most of our front runners are not accustomed to.
Some dark clouds lingering on the fringes of RAD Torque Raceway here in Alberta, but holding off right now, thankfully, as it is a hot track, and certainly with the times that are being laid down consistently, everyone taking a step from race number 1 on Saturday and improving their times.
You can see Ben was pretty careful through his entry there. It looks like he's being cautious, and it's backing people up.
As Young makes his way onto the grass, a little bobble that time. It looks like Alex Duma is going to take a shot here as Young made a mistake, it looked like, and Collins goes around the outside into turn 1.
Yeah, Young was briefly off the track on the inside. That is a very unusual mistake. A, that he made a mistake at all, but B, off on the inside. That almost never happens. Look at Collins coming after Duma, gangbusters into the carousel.
And again, the intensity ratcheted up even further if it could after this mistake from Ben Young.
On board here with Duma. Now watch Young. He has a moment there with the front end, falls off the curb and into the grass. And I don't know if you caught that in the slow-mo, but you could see the dirt on his rear tire. He knows that. He's a smart guy. He's been doing this a long time. But look at Collins come by with his foot down. And both of our young guns, of course, Duma being a longtime rival of Young, Collins unknown to all the front runners until yesterday.
So now it's Duma being chased down by Collins. We saw this in race 1, but it was for second spot with Young up the road ahead in first, and now all over the back of him again. Creativity, different lines, and certainly applying pressure every way he possibly can as Collins on Duma.
And look at Zoke on top of Young, and this is an interesting battle for the final podium spot. Got to mention here that Duma was the big story the whole week coming into this. We had no idea how well Collins would do on that older Kawasaki, but Duma was expected to contend for the win, and he is leading. It doesn't look like think Young has the pace anymore. Whatever's happened, he has slowed up, and that has backed him into Zoke and Garan for third.
The bobble that Young had there at the end of lap number 4 meant that Alex Duma was almost a second and a half faster on lap number 5, as now they run lap 6 of 20. And Collins, there's really nowhere he is unafraid to try and stick this Kawasaki down the inside, as again we see him taking a little look on Duma.
Oh, Collins with the terror cam trying to make the move on Duma, coming onto the start straight, heading for the west end where the track opens up. And if anything, Duma has made up a few bike lengths. The Ducati, I think, is definitely a faster motorcycle, but look at that, as soon as you get to a little bit of a technical session, why Collins keeps looking over his left shoulder there. I don't know if he's expecting a motocross bike to come by or something, but he looks there a lot. And this, again, as soon as we get into the technical stuff, he is right on top of Duma's Ducati.
The way that Collins is riding his bike here, Colin, is it more punishing on these Bridgestones?
Absolutely. He's very aggressive, and obviously his style has come from different tracks, different series, and when I say different tracks and different series, that's a way of me dancing around different tires.
He's making his way down the front straight once again, a 117.8 this time for Duma. Really solid time in the gap. Closed down just a little bit there on lap number 6 from Collins.
When we talked to Duma yesterday, they were skeptical about making changes. He had changes he wanted to make. He wasn't sure if he could incorporate it with the Ducati, but we are seeing more pace out of him, and I think he's a little more comfortable now.
Alex Duma leads from Duma and Collins as the valiant return of number 23 to the Bridgestone CSBK paddock continues. Welcome back to RAD Torque Raceway. Alex Duma still out in front of Duma and Collins. Ben Young sitting in third after the bobble he had a few laps ago. Jordan Zoke in fourth. Sam Garan is in 5th spot as well, as Collins taking that inside line, a little bit tighter than Duma, battling their way through there. Let's hear more from Torin on how he got to RAD Torque.
It was honestly pretty scrambled, like last minute. I know Ryan Taylor, he used to race here a little bit. Basically, he totaled his bike a while back, and then he's been rebuilding it. And we were on a call talking about sponsorship because he helps out Phil. And it was like, hey, I'm rebuilding my bike. Do you want to ride it? I looked at Dad he's on the call, right? I look at Dad and I'm like, ooh, that would be fun, like riding a V4, because I've ridden the Cowie twice or something on 2 track days, and that's it. And yeah, it was really just like a last minute thing. And I was like, you know what? Try and give the top Canadian guys a shot. And some people know my name, but not many people have actually seen me ride. So I was like, yeah, let's try and get my name out there, see how I do. I know the track somewhat, so yeah, let's have some fun.
Yeah, I think we had some fun and knew the track somewhat yesterday when we made the podium at our first attempt. Now let's remember, of course, Duma in his first career attempt beat Ben Young, but Collins is close, and we have a race today, and this one he could win because he's right on top of Duma.
Yeah, it's incredible to see them battling going through that bus stop, as again you see Duma and Collins, Young sitting in 3rd, Zoke and Garan 4th and 5th respectively, and it's David McKay, Brian Wursdahl, Paul McDonnell, Connor Campbell, and Philip DeGama Blanchette up in 10th, the young rider out from the west.
Yeah, you got to mention DeGama Blanchette. He's on a Kawasaki 600. Very few of the riders from middleweight actually bothered to race in Superbike anymore because everybody's focused on that championship. So good for him to make up the numbers and be in amongst the Superbikes. Yesterday, Campbell had an electrical and shifting issue, and they're trying to work through all of that. So yeah, it's an interesting battle further back. We'll see how far they get, the leaders, in terms of lapping up the field.
And the pace that's being pushed here by Duma Collins. Last lap he ran a 1:18.0, and that was faster than anybody on track again. So closing down this gap, if your eyes tell you that they're getting closer and closer, they are not deceiving you as they head towards the finish stripe.
And it's a little bit strange because Ben Young obviously is not on pace to take the win. I wonder if he's decided 3rd is what he wants, but Zoke and Garan don't look like they're really making any big effort. Now maybe they're waiting, we're just past halfway, so maybe they have a plan coming. And every time you get through the sections, it looks like Collins is right on top of Duma. It's so close between turn 2 and the bus stop every lap as we go back on board with the crazy cam.
He's heading back down into that second carousel here, dipping down to the left as they cross what is the start straight here at RAD Torque Raceway and head in behind the trees with Collins trying to track down Duma.
Yeah, and he is tracking him, and every time we get to a tighter section, watch what happens through here. He makes up significant ground, and you know, I like to say time-speed difference is misleading in terms of how close they look, but he is gaining in the tighter sections.
Once again, getting that bike scrubbed off enough speed to close down. And that time it almost looked like Collins had to straighten up a little bit, as you can see the difference in power between these bikes.
Yeah, and amazingly, Collins' bike is putting out more horsepower than it probably did yesterday. They got some computer help. Apparently they weren't in the right map, and of course they've been running this bike restricted to practice for the middleweight class in the United States, where he runs a Suzuki GSXR 750, which would be roughly a 130 horsepower motorcycle. Here he's in the 170 range, but of course our front runners are in the 190 plus.
This is not CTMP, Colin, but what does that actually mean tangibly to onboard for Torren Collins? What is he battling against being down on power like that?
I think more than anything, it's just the jump out of the turns, and that's twofold. One, the bike in front of him has more power. Two, it's a V4 Ducati. It puts the power down better. And I think you have to mention, as much as I've belittled Collins' bike for being older and not as well set up, he's riding it hard, which means the chassis must be working. We're seeing it twist itself up, but he can handle it, and it's not slowing him down. He is not slowing down. And I think if you're wondering how hard you can ride that bike, that's the answer. As we're watching it, that's all that bike's got in it.
Yeah, big respect to the ZX-10R Kawasaki for being able to put up with the punishment of Torren Collins as he continues to battle against an older bike that he is setting up and trying to find his way to first on, with Alex Duma holding him off in the Economy Lube and Tire Ducati. Portions of the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship are brought to you in part by Joe Rocket, BS Battery, and Gulf Race Fuels. Welcome back to RAD Torque Raceway as Torren Collins still trying to track down Alex Duma. Ben Young battling in behind with Jordan Zoke and Sam Moran as well, as Duma in his return to the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship on lap number 17, hoping to get a victory here in his first weekend back in the paddock.
And hoping to have a dry finish, because south of us it's got really dark and overcast with rain coming. And look at this, he's trying all out.
Tightening up as it is, Collins straightening up Alex Duma, who turns his head immediately, recognizes there was contact, and Collins sails into the sunset as fast as he possibly can.
Yeah, Collins using all his ground clearance, something dragging and sparking on the curb there, and this is when Collins has to go all out, because we know he doesn't have the horsepower. Now let's go on board, let's watch what happens, and this is another situation where Collins just chooses to muscle his way underneath. Duma left the door very slightly open, but the bump happens before Collins is all the way by, so that is not going to win him any friends. But as he pointed out, he's not in it to make friends, and you look here, he has the advantage in terms of the inside. Duma is looking way up ahead and certainly doesn't expect that, but again, professional riders, they know how to deal with these things, but those surprises are tough to deal with when you're battling for the lead in the Superbike National on TSN.
As those dark clouds swirl in the background, the man that calls himself the Canadian Storm, Torren Collins, takes the lead of this race against Alex Duma, a full second faster there on lap number 17, and now just a few laps left as he could take a maiden victory here.
Our stationary zoom cam showed those clouds that are coming, and Collins is now in a bit of a race against the weather, and Duma, I think, has decided maybe second will work just fine. I will have to look in the back of the shot and see if Young is holding off Zoke as he has previously.
Number 18 is a little wheel hop here coming down the finish straight as they check the pit boards, and on lap number 18, fastest on the track once again. He really tried to put the hammer down there. 117.7 for Torren Collins on lap 18.
See the way that Ninja was squirming. I think he's overheated the rear shock absorber, getting the most out of that big Bridgestone rear slick. He is riding that thing as fast as it will go as we head through the carousel here. Not that much race left, and again, I just don't think Duma has it in him to come after him at this point. I think Duma was setting a great pace, but Collins is just so motivated.
And we've seen Collins with kind of one speed, one approach throughout all of this weekend go as hard as he possibly can. Does he have a race management mode right here? Is he aware that he can probably go a little bit more relaxed?
I don't think he had a really big look back there that time. He wants to be sure of his situation. I'm sure he was worried that Duma would be right there. He's got just enough of an edge, and it's funny you say one speed because Trevor Daly isn't here, but I have a hunch he would very much respect Collins' effort. Daly won in the rain at our most recent round at Grand Bend, but he is not doing all the races this year.
And Ben Young closing up the gap in third position here as well as he's pulled away from Jordan Zoke and Sam Garan. It was an extremely tightly packed top 5 as Young had a little bit of a hiccup earlier in the race. Alex Duma went to first. Now Torin Collins is in the lead with the white flag out and 1 lap left to go as he still backs that thing into turn 1.
No, Collins hasn't slowed down at all, and this is impressive. And I guess he had another big look, but he's still going. And I think this is Collins' race management is just hammer down the whole way as long as he's got a bike under him and the tires are surviving. And if you want to test those Bridgestones, and this is the first time we've raced with the spec Bridgestones at this track, you probably couldn't find anyone to work them harder. As you see him sliding into turn 4, we go back on board with that crazy cam, head across the starting grid for the West End, and Collins is continuing to set a breathtaking pace.
As you see those clouds that have been threatening all race long, you can actually see the rain off in the distance there over the shoulder of Torin Collins, but it's a dry track. He checks it out one more time here, looks back and sees that Alex Duma is not tight on his rear tire. And so he will begin to maybe settle in a little bit, but you never really can knowing what Duma has in terms of potential pace.
Successfully through Jody Christie's corner. We call it that because he wound up in the canola there the first time we came out. And it looks like Collins with basically just one chicane section to go through. And this is one of the areas where he's been making some fantastic passes. We're just about there.
Torin Collins, incredible riding style, great excitement, and it all ends up in a Sunday victory. The head nod for the Canadian Storm. He wins race 2 at RAD Torque.
It took him 2 races to win his first national. He was on the podium yesterday. The man behind him, Duma, here he stops in front of the grandstand, and Ben Young's coming to greet him.
Fantastic moment and a great appreciation from the grandstand here in Edmonton as Torin Collins gets the victory and Alex Duma brings it home second ahead of Ben Young.
Garant, who's been on the podium fairly regularly this year, in 5th. David McKay, a solid 6th. Wursdal on another Honda, so a good day for Honda. And you can't say enough about Philip de Gama Blanchette in 8th on a Kawasaki 636.
Let's go down and hear from our race winner, Torin Collins.
Torin, it's your second race ever for CSBK, and you come out with a win. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels great. Honestly, I didn't think I was going to be able to make it happen. Dumas's bike was so fast on the straights, and I had to work so hard to find places to pass him. And I kind of just went for it. We did make a little bit of contact, so that's always fun. I hope he's not too upset about that, but I think it's fair racing, aggressive. Yeah, rubbing's racing. That's why I like it. And as I said before the weekend, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to do well.
Cool. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Looking at our point standings as we hit halfway, 4 winners in 6 races. We're getting close to historic numbers, and we have big races to come at Shubenacadie, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and then back at Shannonville.
We have reached the midway point of the 2024 Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship season, and there is still so much to be decided, but what a wonderful weekend of racing here with these 3, Alex Duma, Torin Collins, and Ben Young. It's Collins to the top step in race 2.